So after Chucky's first straight-to-DVD venture turned out to be okay and pretty well received by the public at large, they decided another sequel seemed to be a good idea. But would the Cult of Chucky live up to how good Curse of Chucky was? Well, today we're going to talk about it, so let's get spooky. Greetings everyone, y bienvenidos a todos. My name is Nightshade. This is The Night Shift, a home for all things spooky, and today we're looking at Cult of Chucky, released in 2017. So, 4 years after the release of Curse of Chucky, they decided to go ahead and give Chucky yet another sequel. And I gotta say, I actually really enjoy this film. The Cult of Chucky is one of those films that I bought whenever it came out to DVD. I went to a Walmart, I believe it was, and bought it the day that it came out. Took it home, watched it, and, you know, I gotta say, I had a great time. Although this is a movie that I don't watch regularly, it's still one that every time it's on, I'll sit down and watch it and have myself a good time. And I rewatched it again this past weekend and, you know, again, had a good time. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get to talking about it. So for this one, I'm gonna go ahead and break it down into two categories, the positives and the negatives. Let you know what I liked about this movie and what I didn't like about this movie. Then we're going to go ahead and break down my favorite scene of the movie, and I'll let you know why it is my favorite scene in this movie. Then we will score this out of 10 and end the video. But here on The Night Shift, we always try to start things off on the bright side with... So I'm not going to spend too much time on this topic, but I think the cinematography was done really well. Much like they did in Curse of Chucky, the Cult of Chucky also has really good cinematography. A lot of really well composed shots. I would compliment the color grading, except most of the stuff in this film is in like a bleak, stark white, but that is by design. And yeah, whenever I was rewatching this, I was just really appreciating the cinematography that is in this film. I thought it was really good and worthy of note. But like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, so, you know, cinematography is going on the positives list. Now we move on to our next positive, which is... I love the fact that, you know, this takes place in a psychiatric care facility. In watching these films, you know, people that survive would definitely get sent to the nut house. So it makes sense that, you know, Nika Pierce, that we continue the Nika saga here. It makes sense that, you know, Nika would end up in the psych ward because, like, nobody in their right mind would believe there is a killer doll. Like, it's just not gonna happen. And, you know, Andy's mom had something of the same fate. She got locked up in Child's Play 2, which is why Andy is in the foster care system. So I like that we follow the survivor into a not very nice place. Like, you know, you're not really rewarded for surviving Chucky, and I'm glad they went the route that they did. One, I don't like how sterile psychiatric wards are. It's very white, very flat, very colorless, very bleak. And, you know, it makes me feel uneasy, which I want to be feeling when watching a horror movie. Not to mention, you know, psych wards freak me out. I have an irrational fear that, like, one day somebody's going to, like, report me as crazy. I used to have a reoccurring nightmare of that happening where it's like, no, I'm not crazy, but you're all saying that I am. That's fucking terrifying. You know, it's an irrational fear, but, like, imagine, you know, like, you're trying to convince people that you're not crazy, but everybody's trying to convince you are. It's an irrational fear, but it's one that I have. So the setting already gives me an unease in vibes because, you know, it doesn't seem like a happy place. And because of that fact, the setting is definitely going in the positive for sure. So moving right along to our next positive, we have... So I was going to give everybody in here a chapter and put them as a positive, but that would take forever, and I simply don't have the time to do that. So we're going to group everybody together as the characters because we have a lot of really likable characters. This one, Andy returns, like, officially and not in a bonus cutscene at the end of a movie. So in this one, Alex Vincent is actually back and is a player in the game. Like, he is somebody that is in the movie that is not just like a bonus thing at the end of a movie, like a bonus cutscene or whatever. And, you know, this film kind of highlights how hard it's been for Andy over these past few years. You know, everybody that's Googled him will know that he claims to have been terrorized by a killer doll.
You Googled me.
Yeah, I did.
Fucking internet.
You have a very dark past.
past.
Yeah.
So why didn't you tell me?
Because I like you. I didn't want to scare you away.
But I was really happy to see Andy back in this, and that we got Alex Vincent as Andy back in this, and not that other weird guy in Child's Play 3. Not to hate, but I didn't buy him as Andy. But yeah, I was really happy to see that he made his return for this movie. Then we get the return of Fiona Dourif, reprising her role as Nika Pierce. And, I enjoyed her so much in the last one. I was happy to see that she does make another appearance in this film. She's starting to make her way up to my top 5 as far as like my favorite final girls. She's pushing the ranks right now. Could be a recency bias, who knows? But, I just like this past couple of watches of Curse and Cult, I just really enjoyed her. I thought she was a great character, and I was happy to see that she returns for this film. Also, another one of my favorite characters in this movie was Multiple Malcolm. I thought he was fucking hilarious, especially whenever he starts doing an impersonation of Jesse Eisenberg's take on Mark Zuckerberg from what is that movie, The Social Network or something like that, the Mark Zuckerberg Facebook movie. I really liked his take on that character, and he did a spot-on impression. He's one of my favorite characters in this movie for sure. Like, I loved Multiple Malcolm, and I kind of wish they would have done more with him and gave him more personalities in this film. Like, especially with how good the actor that portrays him is in that role. Like, I think he did a really good job, really selling the multiple identities disorder. Like, that really did a top-notch job here for me. And of course, we get Tiffany, who is back in the franchise and does a little bit more than just cutting a throat. Like, she doesn't do much more, but it is also very welcome to see her back in the franchise and doing more than just being an extra at the end of a film. Like, she does have a little bit more weight in this one, and really happy to see her because, Jennifer Tilly is awesome. And whenever it comes to talking about characters, we need to move on to our next positive, which is obviously going to be And much to nobody's surprise, Brad Dourif reprises his role and absolutely crushes it as the voice of Chucky.
Sometimes I scare myself.
And he always has crushed it and probably always will. And speaking of Chucky, we have a updated sculpt of Chucky, and it looks substantially better than it did in the previous film. Like, I'm actually quite content with Chucky's look here, so that's going to go on the positives grouped in this little category as well. I really love the fact that we actually get multiple versions of Chucky in this film. It's the concept they wanted to do in Child's Play 3, but they actually get to have fun with that idea here. I actually really liked it. I thought, especially because Brad Dourif, kind of gives each Chucky their own personality, which, again, I like, and they continue this throughout the TV show. So yeah, definitely had to put that on the positives list for sure. Come on. So moving right along into our next positive, we have So now the body count in this one is pretty low. There's not a whole lot of kills. There's some, but there's not a whole lot. He's definitely killed more people in previous outings. However, the kills that we do get are pretty high quality and a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun watching the kill sequences in this. There's a lot more practical effects in this one than there were in Curse of Chucky, that's for sure. When it comes to a slasher flick, I can do with less kills as long as they're high quality kills, and in this film we do get high quality kills, so clearly it had to go here on the positive list. Now moving right along, we move into our next positive, which is So I do love the story of this film. We get to continue Nika Pierce's story arc. After the events of Curse of Chucky, Nika Pierce is put into the psych ward. There she has been convinced that she is the one that killed her entire family, using Chucky as a mask, as a scapegoat. And they convince her that the reason that Nika killed all these people is because she has been crazily jealous of her sister, which isn't actually the case, but they've finally broken Nika down to the point that she believes that she's the one that killed her family. And that is, of course, up until, a familiar doll makes its way into the psychiatric hospital where Nika is staying. Chucky reveals himself and shenanigans ensues. So the story in this one is one that I enjoy, and it had to make it to the positives list. So now, moving right along, we have our final positive, which is... I like this ending because Chucky wins. And I think it's funny that, Chucky's final movie, the Brad Dourif, Chucky's final movie, he goes out on a win. It's the last film, and they finally decided, you know what, let's let Chucky win. And, because he has a plan, he enacts it, and, comes out on top. Actually, it leaves pretty bleak for all of the survivors. In this one, Chucky can split his soul. The man's his own Horcrux. He splits his soul into other Chucky dolls, and, he splits his soul and puts it into Nika, and Nika is possessed by Chucky at the end of this film. And, at the end of this film, Andy is left in the psych ward. He's stuck. He can't get out of the psych ward. He's locked in. And those were our two main protagonists in this film, and one's possessed and the other one's trapped, and Chucky goes free. And if you love the survivors, this one goes out on kind of a downer ending, which, I'm a huge fan of a downer ending. I love it when the bad guy wins in a lot of movies because it's different from most movies. So whenever Chucky gets a win, I'm going to go ahead and, put that on the positives list because Chucky fucking wins. So the ending, definitely a positive for me. So that's just gonna about do it for the positives list. And now we move on to the not so bright side of things with... So for this one, I didn't have any huge standout negatives at all. However, there are a few small things that get under my skin, and so I decided to put them into one miscellaneous little category here, and it's only two things, but the first thing is the voice of the Chucky doll.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
They definitely used some type of modulator on an adult person and made them sound young because there's this digital hiss behind it that sounds weird. It just sounds fucking weird. And I don't like it. It bugs me. You can just take, the sound clip from the previous films and just use that. I don't know why, out of all the films, this is the one where you decided to switch it up. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, that one bugged me a little bit. And then my last little tiny gripe is this scene. That big Chucky thing just seemed kind of lazy. It could have been done better. It for sure could have been done better, and it's just weird, and I don't know why that was the choice, but it was the choice they went with, so and it's not one that I enjoyed, so that made it in the miscellaneous negatives here, so yeah. And just like that, I am all out of negatives. There was nothing in this film that really bothered me. Those two little things bugged me a little bit, but it wasn't enough to warrant anything major. They're just two little minor gripes that I have, not anything major. So yeah, that's gonna do it for the negatives, and happy to report that. So now it's time we move on to the next segment of this video, which is so my favorite scene is actually something of a comical one.
You can see me.
Yeah, I can see you.
Don't be afraid.
What?
I'm not going to hurt you.
You fucking with me?
Chucky's on his way to go kill Nika, and there's a lady that is seeing Chucky and has a conversation with him like it's normal, but it's a nut house.
I'm a vintage, mass-marketed children's toy from the 80s. Standing right in front of you, holding a very sharp scalpel.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
I'm a schizophrenic. I see things.
And they have a funny little back and forth that I find hilarious, and I just like that they used the psych ward to their advantage because, in a psych ward, it's normal to talk to dolls, so it's a funny little scene, and it tickles me, and so that's why it is my favorite scene of this film. So with all of that out of the way, now it's time we score this out of a possible 10 points. You know what? I'm going to be real honest with you. I had a great time watching this film. I would go as far as to say that, I loved this movie and I thought it was really good. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and score this a solid 9 out of 10. I think it was well executed, well done, especially on like a $5 million budget. Like, it looks more expensive than a $5 million budget. And I have no complaints. It would be one that I would recommend if you are a Child's Play fan. Definitely a good one. Like, it's definitely one of the good ones. So that is just about going to do it for me. If you liked the video, let me know by leaving me a like. Comment down below what you want to see on the channel next. I will do my best to accommodate. I really will. And until next time, my name is Nightshade. This has been The Night Shift, and I will see you in the next video. Stay spooky, my friends.